Hello. So today we have something quite different. I'm going to be playing a variant called Thue-Morse Go. I don't know how to pronounce this name, but it's played according to this specific sequence of moves called a Thue-Morse sequence. I'll probably talk about it a bit more later, but let's get the game started for now. We are playing with very long time settings, so I'm probably gonna have to be a bit creative with maybe I might pause for a little bit and then come back and review what has happened so far, but okay, let's begin. So all you need to know right now is that my opponent passed right now, because according to the sequence, black plays first, then white gets 2 moves, then black plays, white plays, black gets 2 moves, and so on. So you can see the whole sequence laid out here. I'm gonna play 4-4. So here the sequence is laid out so that all the double moves are always in this column here. And these numbers here correspond to this number down here. So that when it said 2 down there, then black had to pass, and when it says 7, I will have to pass. So when the last move was 7, I think, technically, but so this is sort of move 7, and then white passes, and then it's, yeah. Okay, so right now it's, we are here. So black just played, I'm gonna play, and then he's gonna get 2 moves. So for instance, if I played a Shimari here, he could just drill through it straight away, so that would be quite a bad move probably. So what do I want to do? Generally very solid shapes are good, but I can also just play some approach, I think. Do this. So now he's gonna get 2 moves in a row. He plays, I pass, he plays again. So the idea with this, so the sequence is built up by starting, it starts black-white as normal, and then it's, well, if we look at the ones and zeros, we always take the sequence so far, and then we flip it, and then we put that on the end. So the idea is to make it sort of as fair as possible, with the idea that in normal Go, black-white, black-white, black always keeps an advantage throughout the game, which is why we need Komi. So here we are playing with no Komi, and thinking that this will erase the first move advantage. So this is sort of the idea behind this variant. I actually don't I don't think it's a little bit silly to keep going according to the sequence when in a game of Go there are much more. It's not like we are dividing. If we had that the temperature, the value of the moves was steadily decreasing throughout the game, then this would be very sensible. But since you can always sort of create a bigger move at any point, the value of getting 2 moves in a row is very different at the different points in the game. So it's probably not, more fair than normal Go. For instance, I'm not sure that 0 Komi is the most fair value of Komi even with this, but still it's a very fun variant, I think. Just this idea of you having to sort of time when you get your, like when I see a shape like this, I want to play my double move here, but if I don't have my double move right now, I could play some exchange first and then get it later. So there's some interesting tactics that come up. Okay, so right now I do have my double move, so I think I am going to just play this. I see no good reason not to. Of course, this looks like it's terrible for black in normal Go, but we have to remember that black will also pretty soon get a double move again, so it's going to be able to sort of recover something locally. Maybe, for instance, he will be able to sort of crawl around and make this don't look super strong right now, but they might not be if I'm not careful. So now it's move 12, so maybe I'll just I don't know, I'll try to give some highlight here to keep track of where we are right now. So next up, Black gets 2 moves in a row, then I get 1 move, he gets 1 move, and then I get my next double move. So if I cut here right now, I will be able to... He's just going to play 1 move, but then I will play 2 moves. So if I cut here, I will be able to capture either this stone or this stone. So that looks like a good idea to me. Of course, he could, if he plays here, I capture, he could connect up underneath, but I'm happy enough to be strong on the outside. So he could choose between, if he saves this stone, this one, I'm going to capture this. So the question is it better for him to just have, and maybe in that case he should connect solidly, as not to leave this weakness for later. So he can either connect here and I capture this stone, or he can Atari here and I'm going to capture, and then I get 2 moves, so he's gonna get... I think generally it's very good for me to just take a stone off the board, since that sort of removes all the RG. Like here there's still so much. If Black gets the next double move soon, he could, for instance, Atari and capture, so it's very important for me to actually take this 1 stone off the board. And he did choose to extend here, which would probably be better in normal Go, but I think in this variant it might have been better to connect solidly, because, you know, when I get 2 moves in a row I could cut and extend, and something else like that, and it's going to be very tricky for him. So like I said, we are playing with Zero Komi. It's New Zealand rules, which doesn't really change much. I think it's area scoring. That's probably the only important part. And like I said, the time settings are quite extreme. It's 30 minutes plus 1 minute per move. So in combination with you know, even when you pass, you get an extra minute. So a game like this can easily take up to you know, 6 hours or so if it's played out all the way. But we are playing quite quickly now, so I don't think it's gonna take that long. And regardless, the video is definitely not gonna be that long. In that case, I will pause it. So since the games are so long, we have this system in place of sealing a move. I think we said originally we were just going to play a 2-hour session today, but maybe it looks like my opponent might be interested in playing longer. We'll see. If we want to pause the game and continue another game, you can do this. You know, in real life, when you seal a move, you can sort of write it down and seal it in an envelope, and then you open it up and play it when you continue the next day. And one very simple version of that here is to just write your move in the Malkovich chat. However, in his previous game, Vsatweb here used the clever idea of writing down the movie played, then taking putting that into a hash generator to get just you know, a random string of letters, which you can then use to prove later that that was actually his intention, but it's difficult for the opponent to find out, even with knowing that sequence. You can make it impossible to actually guess which move they are going to play. So I thought it was quite. We'll see if we get to that point, if we get to use that today. I think it's quite cute. Okay, so we are move 21, so that means that next move, black gets his double move. So if I would Hane, it feels like probably a bad idea. So I would Hane. Right now black has just played this move, sort of. So it's, I get a move, black get 2 moves, so he could cut and play something else. Then I get, it would be okay if I then immediately got my 2 moves, but I have to play a 1 move exchange first, and then I get my 2 moves. Maybe it's still, I'm gonna go for it just because it's more fun. I think I can probably win by just playing solid shapes everywhere, but that's not, it's not as fun as going into these crazy tactical sequences. So I think he should cut, and then he should protect one of the cutting stones with his next 2 moves. So maybe I'll just show what I was just talking about. If I, let's say I have some. If I just put in like my, let's say I want to play a5 and b8 as my next couple of moves, and I want to seal that move, I can use a site like this to get this hash, this string, and if I post this in the chat, this is a hash function especially designed to be sort of slow, which means that it's very difficult to just run through all the possible combinations of moves and then just check which one matches with the hash, even if you knew exactly how I'm going to format it. But it's not slow enough to make it, you know, there might not be, even if I'm going to play 2 moves, I might just have 1 move to play. In that case, it's just like 300 possibilities. So that's not really good enough. So my idea is that you should say your moves, and then you should have some sort of just random word or just some password, random character, something to add some entropy to the hash. And in that case, I will post this and in the chat, and unless my opponent can guess the word I was thinking of, sort of, they won't be able to guess my my move. But when I want to unseal the move, I can tell them that, okay, so I posted this hash, and I will tell them that this was actually my, these were my moves, and this was my secret word, and I can check it, and it says that they match. So I can prove that that was my intention, but I also can't make up, it would be impossible for me to find another combination of moves which gave the exact same hash, because there's much more information in the hash than in the string itself. Okay, so we have to pass. So I don't know, that's sort of off topic, but hopefully some of you found that interesting. This doesn't just apply to Thue-Morse Go, it's just in general if you want to seal a move in a game in a way without using this sort of secret. Because this Malkovich chat, it just works, you know, with a cooperating opponent. The opponent can, if they go to this page without being logged in, they could still check what I said in the Malkovich chat. So if you want to do it in a way which doesn't require trust between the parties, you could use this hash function. And then preferably, like I said, a slow hash function instead of normal, like one you use to hash passwords is better than something like yeah, the normal hash functions, which are designed to be as fast as possible. Okay, we are move 25, and I will get one exchange, and then I will get a double move. So I could Atari, he will respond, and then I will probably want to just connect solidly and push through. I think that's probably the best idea. Otherwise, I could push here. He would have to somehow defend this one stone. And I could, for instance, Hane and connect or something. But I think this is better. Because now for my double move, I don't want to play this and this because he can just immediately capture this. So instead I'm going to connect. And push through. So you sort of want to focus on, you know, permanent shapes. This is when I push through like this, there's no way to. The best play I can hope for in the future is to connect up underneath like this, but there's no way to cut these. This is a solidly connected shape, so it can't be cut off. And it has enough liberties to not be immediately captured. So that's sort of what I'm focusing on when playing this variant. And of course I don't have that much. I played like, this is my 4th game probably of this variant. So I'm by no means an expert. See, yes, we pass. He's gonna take that off the board. And now it is once again my my double move. So normally I would worry about taking care of these stones, but it's quite difficult to actually. I'm sort of not too worried about him attacking these. Because when it gets to the, I think it's so unpredictable what happens when in the local tactics that it's difficult to just kill something. So I think I'm gonna take this opportunity to cut and extend here. Yeah. I'm thinking about if it's better shape to push here or push here, but I think having more liberties with my group is more important right now. So if you're interested in learning more about this variant, Sanraku created this group on OGS where there are some people interested in this variant, and he made this paste bin of the move sequence, layout it in his way. I just took this and copy replaced with black and white circles to make it more easy to read on the video. But I think this is a very nice idea of how to lay out, because the important part is not the sequence precisely, but the double moves is always the deciding factor when reading. So it's nice to just put the focus on that part of the sequence. And also, like when you're playing on OGS like this, you have to remember when you have to pass, and this makes it very easy to do so. So let's see, where are we now? I just made my 2 moves. So he has 1 exchange and then a double move. So one thing is that if he plays here now, it's actually kind of Atari on this 1 stone. If he plays here and I push out, he can capture 1 stone, which might not look very big, especially in this case I could just capture it back right away, but with the right timing, that might be an issue. And maybe, you know, even this is the sort of thing, if he, okay, let's say we have that sequence, he pushes, I extend, and he captured 1 stone, but I immediately Atari and capture. He sort of made me waste my double move on something which was already mine. So I think even though it's a complete failure locally, it might be good in the global sense. It's sort of a battle to get more value out of your double moves. Since we both get double moves constantly, it's just like in normal Go you have to make your every move count for the most, and in this you have to make sure that every double move counts for the most. Okay, so here it's a bit tricky. It would be normal for me to just jump out or something like that, but he can actually cut through solidly in that case. So I think I might want to leave this for a little bit later when we're in a different part of the sequence. Like I said, I'm not worried about him. If he takes his next move to just take these, just block here, this feel easy to sacrifice. So I'm just gonna play some big move elsewhere, I think. And maybe like this fight feels quite, I mean, these stones individually are not big, but maybe I should just make this strong like this or something. I think this might be a good shape, because even though like normally a Kosumi can be cut when he gets a double move, but cutting now is such a bad shape that he's not going to be able to do it. If he cuts with a double move, either I have a double move directly and I can capture them, or he cuts and I get 1 exchange. When I play Atari, he responds and then I can capture it. So those are sort of the only 2 options locally in the sequence. Either you, after double move, you either get, every time black has a double move, either white gets a double move directly afterwards, or so black plays and white immediately gets a double move, or black plays and then it's sort of 1 exchange in between white black and then white gets a double move. So it's always quite similar locally, even though you know, locally in time, so to speak. Okay, so now I have another double move to think of. And I think I'm going to ask my opponent if he wants me to just, since he wanted to take a break around 1930, maybe I just suggest to him that I'll, just for fun, seal my next move so that we can try that out. But in any case, we have to decide what to play, and one option would definitely be to, you know, take 2 liberties from this cornerstone. Another would be to make a solid shape. So let's just decide on something. Let's go for Q4 and R4. So I'm gonna go back to this site, and I'm gonna say I will play, what did I just say? Q4 and R4. Let's think of some fun word. I'm just gonna say pineapple. And I'm gonna hash that. And I'm gonna paste this in the chat. Because now he can see that I have already sealed my move, and then I can pause the game. So that's sort of one advantage over writing it directly in the Malkovich log, is that in that case it's sort of difficult for me to, because I have to write it in the log first and then I need to pause the game, and I'm not allowed to pause the game until I have already sealed it. So my opponent actually would have to check that I have written it, and yeah, okay. So I'm gonna pause the video here and I'll be back when we continue. Okay, so my opponent has returned and I have unsealed my move and played the first half of it. So now, okay, next up, he has a double move, then white black, and then it's white double move, black double move, white double move. So quite often you have these runs of 3 double moves in a row. And we're gonna see some exciting stuff probably. My computer fan is being very loud, so hopefully it's not being picked up. Maybe I will just switch to my headset just in case. Be right back. Okay, there we go. So, okay, where were we? Double move. And this is an interesting timing because I could cut and he just has 1 move, but then I get 2 moves next time. So I think this was probably a mistake from him. I should say I don't actually know my opponent, so I should probably call them instead of him, but that goes in general for all my opponents. Okay, so now if I don't do anything up here, then black could take the opportunity to remove one of the stones. So I think I am going to take one of them off the board. The question is, do I want to take the inside or the outside? Obviously, in normal Go, outside would be much better. Here I am slightly concerned about, even after I take this outside stone, there is some Aji in the corner. But that also goes for taking the inside stone, so I will, yeah, I'm gonna take the outside stone. So my reasoning is that I think I'm doing better so far in this opening, because even though, so when black gets 2 moves next, this position in the corner will be quite good for black if they choose to continue down here, but I always feel like taking a stone actually off the board is more valuable than just, these look basically dead, but since I can get 2 moves at any time to save them, later black still has to worry about me bringing these back to life. While this stone is definitely dead forever. This one we can't know, but this one is definitely off the board. Okay. So this is quite a weak shape in this variant actually. I'm definitely gonna be looking forward to doing some mean stuff around here. But for now, I had a double move right now, and I don't think it's sort of a bit over concentrated to just cut through immediately. I sort of prefer later if I have, white, black, and then leave it, and then later white, so that I can, yeah, do something similar like I did here. So I'm gonna leave it for now. I think it's also hard for black to fix it with one move. And I'm gonna fix my shape down here, I think, by just playing Hane and connect, probably. Solid shapes, like always. So right now we are at this point. So the question is, will black ever want to... Okay, right now black has exchange and then double move, so one interesting idea would be to Hane here, because that makes it a bit difficult for me to choose. If I just block like this, the stone can actually be captured. But then, yeah, then I don't know what happens. It's complicated. But okay, let's do our best to read it out. So black, white, black, black. And then it's white, black, and then I get 2 moves. So I could connect here solidly, could live in the corner. So it could become an exchange where I sort of become stronger on the outside, but black takes away the corner, for instance. But that's probably sort of analogous to just invading a corner normally or something like that. It's probably not big enough to do right now. Black should worry about saving these stones somehow, or maybe this white is starting to build both here and here, so maybe trying to think about reducing attachments like this, which look a bit crazy in normal Go, can be quite good in this variant, since taking a liberty becomes much more important than normal. So maybe, black, white is quite forced to sort of back off, and maybe black plays, so maybe black, white, and then black, black, and sort of making shape here. It's difficult for me to sort of aiming to use the Liberty Shortage on these stones then in the future. Something along those lines. So probably I just want to let black live small in this corner. It feels quite important to seal off this side to force black to invade here later on. Otherwise, if I leave this open, even more than normally, black will have a very easy time to jump out here. So yeah, I'm just gonna block. It's a solid shape for me. I take a liberty. Black is kind of committed to saving these now, which will be interesting because okay, and yeah, he has the double move, of course, so that makes it a bit easier. In normal Go, this group would have been dead, I'm pretty sure, or maybe like technically Ko along the side or something like that, but this normal Hane and then hanging connection here, it's called a J group, and I can Hane and throw in, but there might be some Aji. Yeah, so maybe it's technically Ko. But so black used this opportunity to move out with a double move. Now I have exchange, then double move, so I'm thinking about this attachment immediately. Looks a bit annoying. I'm gonna do it. So if, for instance, if black blocks here, I have my double move up next. I could connect under and Atari, and then black has to play one normal move. It's not time for the double move immediately, so I think black will be forced to save these. And then I don't really care about later if black captures this, it's not as big, but I sort of like making this forcing exchange first. And of course, if black tries to disconnect me somehow, I have this cut and R2, which looks like I'm definitely killing these. So this is according to plan. I will play here and then here. So of course, the biggest weakness of this variant is probably that you have to constantly refer to the list. I think it would take quite a lot of practice to be able to read without, consulting this. I mean, it wouldn't be that much practice to just memorize the move numbers you have to pass, but even so, reading with it in mind is very difficult. So you could imagine some variant of this variant where it's a more regular sequence. Let's see, let's make our move. Get one move. So now I'm gonna do this, I think, to just create weakness here for later. So for instance, one idea I had is that you could, since it's easiest to look at this move number down here to keep track of where you are, you could say so that every, let's see, when it says 10, 20, 30, or 40, a multiple of 10, you could have that black always passes. And when it says a multiple of 10 plus 5, so ending in 5, you could have that white passes. So that would be a way to distribute a bit fewer double moves throughout the game. Now it's sort of constantly double move, double move, double move. And also in a way which would be much easier to remember actually when it comes up. So you would play a couple of normal moves and then, okay, another double move. They sort of come completely regularly instead. And now I have my double move. I probably don't want to do anything with cutting here immediately because black has a double move straight afterwards. It could be pretty big. I mean, I could spend a move here because right now black can just whenever spend 2 moves to capture this one stone, which is a bit annoying. So I could spend 1 move here. Is that a bad idea? Because then black plays... It would be safer to play here, but then I leave it open the possibility of black taking back the corner quite easily. So now I'm thinking about, okay, if I play here, if black takes a double move to play black, black, yeah, I'm never gonna just locally die with these stones. So I think that's worth it probably. Because then I could play here, and I'm gonna use my next move to maybe put some pressure on these stones, which are looking quite weak now. I don't want to press like this because black could just push through immediately. But maybe this is okay. I wouldn't mind if black tries to push through like this. I can block, and I'm starting to reduce the liberties on these guys. So yeah, let's try that. It's hard to find a good move here because if black jumps out like this, I still have pushing through later. This one, Kosumi looks quite strong normally, but when I Hane here, black can't block if I have the double move next. So it will take some care to handle this group. So he did try this pushing through, and I'm guessing I should block here, just like in normal Go. I see no reason not to. I have some cuts, but it's actually my double move up next, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. I have been, as you probably noticed, pausing a bit between moves when we take quite a long time to play and talk about some other stuff, so hopefully the video won't turn out too long. We'll see if I have to split it in multiple parts or something. So next for black, we are right now here. Black will get a single move, I will get 2 moves, so definitely cutting right now seems like a bad idea. And probably some sort of jump is also a bad idea, but it's not clear because if I try to push through with my double move, then black can use their double move, so to you know, I have many weaknesses as well. Oh, let's look at my opponent's other ideas for handicap systems. It's quite an old post. So we have free placement handicap stones. We have sort of reverse komi or any sort of komi. And this is precisely equivalent to what we were just talking about in the chat. Yes, and this one this variant I've seen before where you can, white gets to, or let's see, black gets to choose when to take his double moves rather than taking them every X turns, so pre-decided, more like this sequence. Here's some more crazy ones, which are more difficult to just play online. So I tend to prefer, nice part about, for instance, this sequence is that it's completely different from normal Go, but it's still completely possible to play even in a normal on a normal Go playing program such as this. As long as both opponents agree, it's very easy to play this variant. But with something like black can choose a limited number of times to change the color of a stone, that's very easy over the real board, but would be very difficult to do here. I guess if it yeah, with the latest stones, what was it? There was some other where black can just say that, okay, your latest move comes black instead, which is quite easy to do with just undoing, and yeah. But if at this point black wanted to say that I want to change this stone to black, that's not easy to do here. But yeah, I really like these ones where either, because double moves are sort of such a simple concept, but they open up lots of new interesting, lots of things that were safe before become not safe. So I like the idea of either a pre-decided number of double moves, but black gets to choose when to use them, or like this, every X turns is. I think that would be a very fun way to play with a handicap. Okay. Let's see, move 81. This is my double move. So I don't think this is as important. This group is starting to look quite heavy. So I think I'm gonna protect this weakness, and then, because if I play some, I have too many weaknesses right now to be able to attack this severely. So I'm gonna connect solidly, and I think this solid shape here is the best choice, because normally in normal Go this would be the shape, but it's too easy for black to cut it. So with this, of course, black has ways of moving out, but it's going to be annoying to save this. So at the very least, I will be sort of attacking this in center if black wants to save it, and then I can come back here later. I'm not too worried about black saving these stones. Like the corner is super strong, and it's a bit surprising. Is it his? Okay, so it just... But then why didn't he just throw in here? Because, so this is threatening. If I play just elsewhere, black can play T4 and S1 on the next move. But when I capture here, actually, Hmm. I'm trying to think. Would it? I'm pretty sure it would have been better for black to throw in here instead. Um, but it's hard to say. So right now, do I want to capture here or do I want to connect here? Because it doesn't really matter if black captures this one stone, right? But if I play here, then this move is sort of Atari on this whole group, uh, counting double moves. So I think that this might actually be better. Um, this will never be an I, even if black captures it. Um, Actually, you know, this cut is not completely trivial. Probably because the problem is that sometimes, you know, if black can start with cutting with two moves in a row, it might not be easy to capture the cutting stones. And now this group is quite heavy. So I might even consider, since I think I'm having a good game, I might consider connecting solidly here in the future, which looks very slow, but my small amount of experience with this variant has taught me that being, you know, at least if you're a little bit ahead, it's definitely worth it to just be very solid. And being solid is even more important than a normal go, since even shapes which look solid, I mean, this corner looks so solid, but actually there's quite a bit of Aji left with this Hane. Okay, black does it immediately. So I did not get the chance to protect. So now we are here. We'll have white, black, white, white. So if I push here now, if black wants to save these, they have to play either P6 or Q6, which is bad shape. So I think let's just do that. Okay. So now I have two moves. Black has two moves, but then I have two moves again. So I don't see why I can't just push and Atari. And I'm gonna kill these. Because even with two moves here, okay, I mean, black can save it and push out, I guess. But then I could use my two moves to surround it, and if I'm willing to Tanuki anything else, I could capture on the next move. So locally these are dead, but it's sort of like a co-threat sort of situation that if black could find an urgent move elsewhere, I might have to Tanuki. But I think in this situation, I will just swallow these up no matter what. Black has to worry about this group, so yeah. Okay, so this is sort of, it looks quite small, but this has some very big follow-ups. So yeah, and black has two moves. So now next up, I have two moves. I probably want to kind of preemptively play this. Even though, I mean, I could block here. I don't want to leave this RG for later, so I I think I'm going to use one move to capture here and one move to defend up here. And still, this group looks dead, but like I said, it's, if black can time the double moves right, it's definitely possible to make something happen, I think. Right now we would have, let's see, so black could start with this attach, black white, and then, you know, black doesn't have to immediately cut, or black could, so black sort of wants to play black white and then do other stuff, and later black wants to cut when the next move is black's double move. Once again, this idea of if you can play a cross cut when your opponent just has one move but you get two moves, that's very big. I guess black could also, if we read black, white, black could play black, black, and maybe give up these, or, you know, because then I don't have double move immediately, so I think black would be able to get a Panuki here and probably connect up here, but even if white kills these, it might be a good result locally for black just to get this. But yeah, the game overall is looking quite hard for black, obviously. Okay, so my opponent resigned in this position. I think I'll just do a quick review, since this was the first time I played a variant where my opponent knows which variants I'm playing on the channel. I'm gonna try to do a somewhat reasonable review. Of course, in this case, I don't have any help from AI. You can look at the um, computer evaluation, but of course, it's every time you pass, it's just horrified at what you just did, so it's not very helpful. So I'm just gonna point out the times where I thought that maybe I got, you know, too good a result locally from my double move. So for instance, I think this quite normal looking Keima here is not good anymore in this variant. You would have to play some solid shape like maybe this Kosumi, or even, you know, iron pillars are the strongest possible connection. Or, you know, just leave it. It's not easy for white to attack when black can choose the timing when to try to save it and use a double move. So black could just return the favor and ask white, how do you want to handle your corner? So even though, like I said, white get two moves, black get two moves, but I think since I can immediately cut and then capture, this result is definitely good for me. And like I mentioned, maybe it would be better to connect solidly. Another possibility was for black to attire like this, in which case I would still capture, but black has this. And I think this is probably a solid connection, because, you know, it's not easy. If this was already connected, then later there are issues, but I guess if white used a double move to both connect and cut at the same time, that would be problematic later. But black will get some sort of compensation, so I think this shape is actually fine for black locally, but of course white is very strong on the outside, so still better for white. So probably best in this case is just this, connect like this. And I think this is probably okay to cut like this, because since I can't capture anything completely, it's okay. But maybe it's a bit sad to have. I think if we compare how much black got out of this double move and white got out of this double move, then this corner is smaller. So I think already white has gained a lead at this point. And now I get the chance to cut over here. Yeah, this was interesting because, like I said, if I try to save these, I think it's bad for me because I don't want to move out with some sad shape like this. And if I try to, oops, if I try to jump out more efficiently, then black can immediately use the double move to cut me off. So I'm kind of forced to sacrifice this, but I think that's fine. I think this upper right is more than enough compensation from this lower left. And this is big, but maybe it's not big enough. Sort of. Maybe it's since black has a double move now, you could maybe think about directly trying stuff like this to sort of white will be able to capture the stones, I'm quite sure, but because remember the next move will always be after black gets a double move, the next double move for white will always be, or the next double move will always be white's, either immediately or after a single exchange. So in this case, let's see, move 41. In this case, it would be white's double move directly. So maybe, for instance, white could be solid like this, but then this is a pretty good exchange, I'm sure, to have these stones here for later. These are, later black can connect and threaten to come out, so there's quite a bit of agi. Yeah, and this one is definitely, you have to play solid shapes in this variant, because here I get to cut and kill immediately, and yeah. Like I said, this is, I would probably try this, like, because you can play just this one exchange, and then you don't have to, at this point black could choose to capture, but also in case this, what was the sequence here, 64, at this point it's like, I'm very confused. Now it's a double move for white, so white could, for instance, somehow either here or here, and then maybe black can connect up, or if white chooses to, I think this is, this result should be okay locally for white, and black just gets pointed in the corner. So I think maybe black could just play this one exchange to leave this agi for later, and to ask, because white could also choose, of course, to back off with something like this. So it might be nice just to ask what white wants to do. And then maybe I would go directly to, you could play this coming out like this without this exchange. Is it, I mean, of course white will be able to Hane here later, and it's a bit annoying. So maybe it was important for black to get that in the game, but Or you could do it like this, because it's a bit dangerous for white to honey here, since later black might take the opportunity to cut and capture. So probably there's some other ways to use this. I think you have to be open to, just like in normal Go, when you just decide that I have to save this group, then it's not very good for you. You would much prefer to be kind of open to the idea of giving them up. Yeah, this is nice because I played this one exchange and then black answered, so I think I gained a little bit. I exchanged one more for 2 moves, and if black doesn't play locally, then I will have some nasty stuff later. So I think this comes back to probably earlier. This shape might be a little bit too weak in this variant, but it's difficult to decide what to do instead. Maybe let's go all the way back. Maybe you could do... No, I don't know the timing here. Is this the timing? Yeah, this is timing where black took these 2 moves. I would think about maybe taking these 2 moves instead. Maybe that's more annoying. Yeah. Okay, let's not spend too long. I guess this was this here was interesting because if I capture this, then later when black plays here, I have to worry about T4, T1 capturing these in the future. But this one I don't. But if black plays here, I will still play here. So I think in that case it's better for black to have this stone than this stone, I'm pretty sure. Just to not give this chain an eye. Also, how about this one? If black just wanted to play a single, like in the game, it was just getting one exchange and then getting a double move on the outside. In that case, you could also think about playing this one, but I guess maybe when black's aiming at this cut, that's just a bad exchange. Actually, you could cut immediately because white is going to play a single move and then black gets 2 moves. So black is going to be able to save this cutting stone. And might be able to do so with better shape than in the game. Because yeah, this shape is actually a bit short on liberties, as we saw. So if instead cut immediately, if white jumps out, no, it's way too complicated. But there is some agi here later, right? White has to be careful because let's say right now black uses their double move to push through like this, and it's difficult when this is like the only fight on the board. Ideally, you would want to kind of juggle this with some other big fights so that you can choose when to use the double moves. But if black has some liberty to choose the timing, then I think this might be dangerous for white. But right now, white is probably okay locally. And yeah, when I get to capture these, it's probably game over. So I think the decision to resign at this point was probably justified. Because here you can't really save these, even though black gets actually 2 moves here. You would have to add... You can't move out like this because white gets 2 moves next. And if you move out like this, white could actually take 2 moves like this. And next up, now we're at move 100. So next up, it's just single move for black. So regardless of where black plays, I'm just going to capture. So at this point, these stones are completely dead locally. But like I said, they are locally dead, but in this sequence, this is a point where black sort of gets a co-threat somewhere else on the board where I have to capture. If I don't capture now, now next up black gets 2 moves and then black could move out or well, and in that case, yeah, probably let's see. Okay, so black captures 1 stone. Next up, okay, move 105. So now it's white doesn't get 2 moves directly. So if it's like white black, now white's 2 moves could be something like this. It looks very difficult, but yeah, it's not completely clear cut that these are dead locally, but since there are no big like this is not a big co-threat sort of, or it's not a co-threat, but you know, timing threat. It is quite difficult for black. So okay, this was a very long and quite different video. I will be back soon with another normal Go game for those that more enjoyed that sort of thing. But I hope this was interesting to some of you. Thank you for watching.